last class we have seen the introduction about the wave optics. So first started from Descartes and then Newton. After Newton, Huygens. After Huygens, it end up to the Maxwell. So Huygens only first proved the wave nature of the light. Okay. So what is the Huygens principle? Okay. Before knowing the Huygens principle, we know the wavefront. There are two known wavefronts. One is the spherical wavefront. Another one is the plane wavefront. Okay. So in that, each point on a wavefront is a source of secondary waves and it propagates. In forward. So this is the Huygens principle. So as I said already, the waves are emanated from the point of source and it goes in a forward. Like when a stone is dropped on the surface of water, how the waves are originated and spreading out and moving away from the source in all directions. Same like. So that is the Huygens principle. According to Huygens principle, each point on a wavefront is a source of secondary waves, or also we can that is we can say each point on a wavefront is a source of secondary wavelets and the wavelets where it starts and the wavelengths are emanating from the source and the wavelets are emanating that is started emanating from the source and spread out in all directions with the speed and energy. What is the speed and energy? That we have seen already in last class. Directions with the speed and the energy. So this is Huygens principle. Okay, this is a statement of Huygens principle. Okay. If we know the shape of the wavefront at time t is equal to 0, so we know the shape of the wavefront at t is equal to 0, then Huygens principle allows us to determine the shape of wavefront at later time t is equal to tau. So we will consider the two times. One is the t is equal to 0. At the time we know the shape of the wavefront, it may be a plane wave or a spherical wave. Then the Huygens principle allows us to determine the shape of the wavefront at the later time t is equal to small elapsed time. Okay. That is, Huygens principle is essentially a geometrical construction. So that is, Huygens principle is essentially a geometrical construction. Okay. So we are going to solve the Huygens principle. Okay. First, let us consider the spherical wavefront. Okay. So F1 and F2 are the spherical wavefront which have the origin. So let us consider F1 and F2. Very big in size. Okay. F1 and F2 are the spherical wavefront having the origin O. O as the source. Okay, at its center. So we'll write it here. F1, F2 are spherical wavefront with the O as center. Okay. So this is the time t is equal to 0. In a later time, okay, in a later time, These are the waves are emanated from the source. So from the source, in a later time, the waves are emanated. Then we are going to draw a tangent. Similarly, here also we are drawing tangent. So by drawing a tangent to the circle, then the secondary wavelengths are emanated. These secondary wavelets, which is called G1 and G2. What is G1 and G2? G1 and G2 are the secondary wavelets. G1 and G2 are the secondary wavelets. Okay. So which is forward moving wavefront. இது எப்படி போயிட்டு இருக்கு இதே மாதிரி ஃபார்வர்ட்ல தான் போகும். So these wavefronts are forward moving wavefront. Okay. So forward moving wavefront. Okay. Huygens argued one thing in this. Okay. These are the secondary wavelets. Okay. Huygens argued that in the secondary wavelets the amplitudes are maximum. So what are Huygens argued? Amplitudes are maximum. Amplitudes are maximum in secondary wavelets. But also we can draw a back wave. This is a forward wave, no? So also we can draw a back wave. By drawing back wave, for the circle, this is a back wave. Okay. Similarly, you are drawing tangent and the back wave we can draw, but actually Einstein argued that the back waves are not possible. The back waves are called D1 and D2. So what is the D1 and D2? D1 and D2s are back waves. So from the wavefront, so D1 and D2s are the back waves, and the amplitude in this case is 0, because it said that due to 0 amplitude, the back waves are not at all possible. So amplitude is 0 and absence of back waves. Einstein argued that the back waves are not possible, only the secondary wavelets are possible. Okay, so this is from the Huygens principle. Also, we draw this secondary wavelet for a spherical wavefront. Even we have another one wavefront, that is a plane wavefront. For a plane wavefront also we can draw it. How? Look at it. And one more thing. So it have a distance, the radius, that is, it has some speed, also elapsed time, no? This is at the time t is equal to 0. This is at the time t is equal to tau. So as I said already, if you know the shape of the wavefront at a time t is equal to 0, then the Huygens principle allows us to determine the shape of the secondary wavelength. That is at t is equal to tau in this case. So if you know the shape of the wave at t is equal to 0, whether it's a plane wave or a spherical wave, then later time allows us to determine the shape of the wavefront. So this is a secondary wavelet. So this is a secondary wavelet. How we draw the secondary wavelet? For each circle, okay, just we draw the tangent. By joining all the tangents, we get the secondary wavelet. Okay. So the secondary wavelengths are emanated from the source and it moves in a forward. So Huygens said that the waves are moving in a forward, so there is no possibility of the back wave. So the back waves are not exist since the amplitude is 0, and in the forward waves have a maximum amplitude. So we use the Huygens principle in the spherical wavefront. Similarly, for a plane wavefront, how to use the Huygens principle? That only we are going to see next. So for a plane wavefront, how to use the Huygens principle? Okay. Let us take the plane wavefront. Already it's a plane wavefront. What is a plane wavefront? A plane wavefront is nothing but a small portion of the spherical wavefront. A very small portion of the spherical wavefront is called a plane wavefront. Let us take the plane wavefront F1 and F2. So F1 and F2 are the plane wavefront when time t is equal to 0. As I said already, if you know the shape of the wavefront at t is equal to 0, then Huygens principle allows us to determine the shape of the secondary wavelets in the later time, no? Yes. Okay. Then, in a later time, these are the secondary wavelets. Okay. Then these are the secondary wavelengths. Then by drawing a tangent, we'll obtain the secondary wavelength. Here, the G1 and G2 are the secondary wavelengths when time t is equal to tau. Okay. So for each circle, we are drawing a tangent. By drawing a tangent only, we obtain the secondary wavelength. Okay. Then here we are going to draw a normal to this wavefront. So to this we are drawing a normal. So here A and A1 is the A1 and A2 is the normal. Similarly for this secondary waves, a perpendicular drawn to this wavefront. This is B1 and B2. Similarly for the third one, we are drawing a normal. This is a normal C1 and C2. Similarly for other waves, we are drawing a normal. So for every wavefront, we are drawing a normal. So this normal represents nothing but a ray. So what is this? So this is a geometrical construction. This is geometrical construction of a plane wave. Construction of a plane wave that propagating to the right hand side. How the waves are propagating? Because this is the source of the primary wave. So from the source only the secondary wavelets are emanating. That's moving towards the right hand side. Okay, that emanating to the right. That emanating to the right side. So from this diagram, using Huygens principle, what is the F1 and F2? We can write F1 and F2 are the plane wavefronts. At t is equal to 0. Then what is the G1 and G2? G1 and G2 are nothing but wavefront at the later time. G1 and G2 are the wavefronts at later time. T is equal to tau. Then we are drawing a normal, no? The lines A1, A2, B1, B2. So these are the lines are normal to F1, F2 and G1, G2. Already I said these are the lines are normal to F1, F2 and G1, G2. Okay. So the lines A1, A2, B1, B2 up to E1 and E2. These are the lines normal to F1, F2 and G1, G2, which is called rays. So what is the rays from the diagram? The rays are nothing but to the primary wave, to the secondary wavelet, we are drawing a tangent. By joining all the tangent, we will get the wavefront at the later time, that is t is equal to tau. Then from the plane wavefront to the secondary wavelets, we are drawing a perpendicular line. All the perpendicular lines are emanating from the source to the secondary wavelets. So these perpendicular lines that represents the waves. Okay. This is a geometrical construction of the plane wave that emanating from the source to the secondary wavelength, that is to the right hand side. See, the arrow mark that represents to the right hand side. Moreover, these rays are perpendicular to F1, F2 and perpendicular to G1 and G2. That is the secondary wavelength as well as the plane wavefront. Okay. Next, we are going to study how Huygens principle is used in a reflection and refraction phenomena. Now, we are going to derive the laws of refractions using Huygens principle. So, last topic is Huygens principle, how we used to draw the secondary wavelengths for a spherical wave and a plane wave. Now, using Huygens principle, we are going to prove the laws of refraction. Okay. Already we know the refraction. What is the refraction? Change in the speed of the light when it travels from one transparent medium to another transparent medium, like air to water, or air to glass, or glass to water. And already we have studied in the previous chapter, when a light is travels from rarer medium to optically denser medium, the speed reduces. So the refractor ray, that is the bending rays, move towards the normal. If it is denser to rarer medium, then the ray bends away from the normal. Okay. Based on this, we use the Snell's law, and from the Snell's law, we obtain the refractive index of the different materials. Okay. So the same concept you take. Let us consider two different medium. One is optically rarer medium, another one is optically denser medium. So this is optically denser medium. And this is a separation of medium, that is P and P dash. Okay, P and P dash is a separation of medium. Above P dash, it is medium 1 with the refractive index N1. And this is the medium 2 with the refractive index N2. Now, the light is a ray of light is entering from optically rarer medium to optically denser medium. A ray of light entering from optically rarer medium to optically denser medium. Let A dash A is the light ray. A dash A is the light ray. When A dash A is the incident ray, this incident ray along with the B. Okay, let us assume this is B. Okay. So when the incident ray A dash that touches the separation of medium at A, here time is equal to 0. Okay. So here we'll get the incident plane wavefront. This is the incident plane wavefront. We'll use this to represent. This is the incident wavefront. This is the incident wavefront. Incident wavefront at the time t is equal to 0. Then what we'll do, from point of incidence, we draw a perpendicular line which is called a normal, that is N and N dash. N and N dash is a normal drawn perpendicular to this surface of separation. Then to the normal, the incident ray which makes angle I. This is angle of incidence. Okay. Then in a later time tau, it reaches the surface of separation at C. Here T is equal to tau. So here what happens? The incident ray which makes angle to the normal is angle of incidence, and light is coming from optically rarer medium to optically rarer medium with the speed v1. But in the second medium, the ray bends towards the normal. Actually the ray has to go like this, but it bends towards the normal. The ray bends towards the normal. This is called the refractor ray. So the refractor ray which makes angle to the normal is angle of refraction. The refractor ray which makes angle to the normal is angle of refraction. And this is a secondary wave. So to the secondary wavelength, from point of incidence, we are drawing a tangent. From C, we are drawing a tangent. Okay. So if this is angle of incidence and this is 90 degree, no? Yes. And this 90 degree, angle I plus X is 90. Similarly, this also will be angle of incidence. Similarly, here these two angles are same. This is angle of refraction. Okay, don't forget using trigonometric rules. If this is R, this is also R. So because the triangles are concurrent. Okay. So in a latter time t is equal to tau, that is at a C we are drawing a tangent to this secondary wavelength, that is refracted wave. So this is the incident wavefront, and the secondary wavefront, that is the refracted wave. So this is the incident wavefront, and this one is called refracted wavefront. Refracted wavefront. Okay. So this is a point E we consider. Okay. Now, so we'll take and write here. What is the AB? AB is the incident wavefront, and then tau is the time taken. Tau is the time taken to reach BC. Tau is the time taken to reach BC. To reach BC. So the BC is equal to V1 tau because the distance towards the radius. So BC is equal to V1 tau, and then CE is a tangent plane. What is the CE? CE is a tangent plane drawn from C to E. What is the CE? CE is a tangent plane which is drawn from C to E. Therefore, CE is equal to V2 tau because it is the radius only, no? So the distance. So this is V2 tau. Okay. And then we are going to compare the two triangles. What are the two triangles? The first triangle is ABC. In triangle ABC, yes, in the triangle ABC, it's a sin I. Sin I is equal to opposite by hypotenuse of, what is the opposite? BC. Hypotenuse is AC. So what is the value of BC? V1 tau divided by AC. This is equation number 1. Okay. Similarly, in the second triangle, AEC, in the triangle AEC, sin R, angle of refraction, sin R is equal to opposite by hypotenuse. What is opposite? AE by AC. What is the AE? It is a V2 tau divided by AC. This is equation number 2. Now, we are going to divide these two equations. You are going to, yes, you are going to divide these two equations. Equation 1 is divided by 2. Then what you will get? Left hand side we need to divide, no? Divided by the second equation left hand side. Similarly, right hand side also we are going to divide. So V1 tau divided by V2 tau. Tau cancels, which is equal to V1 by V2. This is equation number 3. Okay. So from this diagram, we know that the angle of refraction is less than angle of incidence, since the velocity of light in the second medium is less than the velocity of light in the first medium. Am I right? The velocity of the light in second medium is less than the velocity of light in the first medium. அதாவது ஏர்ல எவ்வளவு வெலாசிட்டில வருதோ அதை விட இந்த மீடியத்துக்குள்ள டென்சல் மீடியத்துக்குள்ள போறப்ப வெலாசிட்டி என்னாகும் ரெடியூஸ் ஆயிருக்கும். So this is from the wave theory which was proved by the experiment. But what the corpuscular theory said? Corpuscular theory said that when a ray of light is traveling from optically rarer medium to denser medium, the speed in the second medium is greater than the speed in the first medium, which is totally contradiction to the wave theory. So there is no proof for the corpuscular theory. Newton also followed the corpuscular theory, but Huygens only proved. So how Huygens principle is applicable in the refraction? So wave theory only finally accepted by the experimental evidence. So this is the experimental evidence. So when a ray of light is traveling from optically rarer medium to optically denser medium, the ray bends towards the normal only. So that only proved by this experiment. Okay. Still we have. So after this, we have to find the refractive index of the first medium and the refractive index of the second medium. Okay. So So what is the refractive index of the first medium? Also, refractive index of first medium is equal to speed of light in air by speed of light in medium, and refractive index of second medium is speed of light in air by speed of light in the second medium. Okay. So from this we can get V1. So V1 is equal to C by N1, and from this equation V2 is equal to C by N2. So this is equation number 4. Okay. Now we are going to substitute this equation 4 in 3. What you will get? Substitute the equation 4 in 3. Substitute 4 in 3. What you will get? Already third equation is sin A by sin R, which is equal to V1 by V2. But what is the V1? V1 is C by N1 divided by C by N2. Therefore, we will get N2 by N1. Okay. Or using cross multiplication, N1 sin I, which is equal to N2 sin R. So this is equation number 5. This equation is nothing but Snell's law. Already we know this is Snell's law. So according to Snell's law, the ratio between sine of angle of incident to the sine of angle of refraction is the refractive index of medium. Yes, this is the Snell's law. Now we want to find the wavelength. So the wavelength in the medium 1. Wavelength in medium 1. What is the wavelength in the medium 1? Wavelength in the medium 1 is Bc is equal to lambda 1. Similarly, wavelength in the medium 2 is Ce is equal to lambda 2. Okay, right? Because the crest from the B has reached the C in a time t. Why? Because the crest from B has reached, where it reached? Reached E in a time, reached the C in time tau. So we need to divide this both. So lambda 1 by lambda 2 is equal to BC by CE. So by dividing, what you will get? Already BC value we know. What is the BC? BC we forgot. We rubbed it. Okay. So what is the BC? BC is equal to V1 tau, and this is the radius V2 tau, which is equal to V1 by V2. Now compare these two equations. Yes. So by the comparison, lambda 1 by lambda 2 is equal to V1 by V2, or V1 by lambda 1 is equal to V2 by lambda 2, which means what this equation says. So the 60 equation says that yes, when a wave gets refracted in a denser medium, okay, when a wave gets refracted in a denser medium, that is second medium velocity is less than the first medium velocity, then the speed as well as the wavelength decreases. Okay, so we'll write it here. Yes, when a wave gets refracted, in medium 2, that is V2 is less than V1, then what happens? The wavelength and velocity, that is the speed. Then the wavelength and the speed of wave decreases. But one thing is not changed. What is that? The ratio between speed and wavelength is nothing but frequency. Yes, decreases, but frequency of the wave has no change. Frequency has not changed, which means it is constant. That is, we know already C is equal to nu lambda, no? Yes, C is equal to nu lambda. That is, speed of the light is the product of frequency and wavelength. Our frequency is equal to speed by wavelength. This is V. Yes. Okay. So hence it is proved. So we use the Huygens principle and we are proved the law of refraction. Also, we have said that only the speed and wavelength have changes, but there is no change in the frequency in the medium. Okay. Next, in the same like a manner, the light is traveling from optically denser to rarer. What will happen? That only we are going to see. Now, we are going to see the refraction of a plane wave, which takes place in optically rarer medium. In the previous topic, we have seen the refraction takes place in optically denser medium. That is, in the second medium only refraction takes place. Now, if you change the medium, that is, the first medium is optically denser and the second medium is optically rarer, what will happen? So, in the previous case, before the topic, light வந்து rarer medium denser medium வருது. So, அப்படி denser medium தான் refraction நடக்குது. அதே மாதிரி the speed of the light in the second medium is less than the speed of the light in the first medium. Okay, and that is totally contradiction to the corpuscular theory, and finally we accepted the wave theory. Hence, the wave theory only proved the law of refraction too. But நம்ம இப்ப என்ன பண்ண போறோம், medium அப்படியே உல்டா பண்ண போறோம். Now imagine, so the second case, refraction at rarer medium. If refraction takes place at rarer medium, what will happen? So let us assume the first medium is optically denser medium. This is separation of medium P and P dash, and this is a medium. Yes, and this is in this medium the speed of the light is V2 and the refractive index is N2. So the light is coming, parallel rays are incident. Upon when T is equal to 0, upon the incident ray reaches a point A, ana idu B varaikum da vandirukku. Appo in a later time, appo inga enna agum? Then we are going to draw plane wavefront. This is a plane wavefront. Then at a later time T is equal to tau, it reaches C. C is equal to tau, it reaches C, and this distance is V1 tau. So the first medium is optically denser medium, and the second medium is optically rarer medium having the refractive index N1 with the speed V1. So from the point of incidence you draw a perpendicular line. This is called a normal, no? So this is angle of incidence. What will happen according to the rule? When the light is entering from optically denser medium to optically rarer medium, it bends, but it bends away from the normal. So this bending of rays which moves away from the normal is angle of the refraction, since it is a refracted ray, and to this refracted wavefront we are drawing a tangent from C. It means at a point E. If this is R, this is also R. If this is I, yes, if this is I, this is also I, since this is a right angle. Okay, so நம்ம அங்க என்ன யூஸ் பண்ணதுக்கு முன்னாடி அதே மாதிரி இங்கேயும் யூஸ் பண்ணி நம்ம sin ஐ கால்குலேட் பண்ணலாம். So sin I is equal to B. If this is V1 tau, then this radius is V2 tau. Yes. So BC by AC, which is equal to V1 tau by AC. Similarly, sin R is equal to AE by AC, which is equal to V2 tau by AC. So dividing these two equations, sin I by sin R is equal to V1 by V2. Then we are going to use the refractive index. So the refractive index of first medium is equal to C by V1. Similarly, refractive index of the second medium is equal to C by V2. From this, V1 is equal to C by N1 and V2 is equal to C by N2. So substituting in these equations, we will get sin I by sin R is equal to N2 by N1 or N1 sin I is equal to N2 sin R. நாம அங்க முன்னாடி எதுல என்ன பார்த்தோமோ அதே தான் இங்கேயும் கிடைக்குது. பட் இதுல எந்த ஒரு சேஞ்சஸுமே இல்லை. So this is the Snell's law, so we got the Snell's law. But the condition is, the main condition is, in the previous case when the refraction takes place in the rare optically denser medium, அங்க என்ன எடுத்திருப்போம், angle of incidence is greater than the angle of refraction. But இங்க compare the angle of incidence and angle of refraction. Angle of incidence is less than the angle of refraction. This is a condition. Okay. So due to this, if angle of incidence is taken as IC, then how does formula change? Then 2 becomes substitute. N1 sin IC, which is equal to N2 into sin 90 degree. So in this case, the refracted angle becomes 90 degree. What is the value of 90 degree? 1. Therefore, N1 sin IC, which is equal to N2 or sin IC, which is equal to N2 by N1. அப்படினா maximum எந்த ஒரு கேஸ்லலாம் angle of incidence வந்துட்டு angle of incidence would be equal to the critical angle or more than yes, angle of incidence become more than the critical angle. அந்த ஒரு கேஸ்ல தான் there is no refraction occurs. Okay, so whenever for a particular angle of incidence which is greater than the critical angle, then there is no refraction. அப்ப என்ன நடக்கும்? In the same medium the reflection only takes place. In the same medium then no refraction occurs. No refraction occurs. Then what will happen? Only total internal reflection takes place. Already we have discussed what is the total internal reflection in chapter 9. Okay. So அப்ப கேர்ஃபுல்லா கவனிங்க. நமக்கு முன்னாடி டாபிக்ல என்ன பார்த்தோம்னா லைட் வந்து ரேர் மீடியத்துல இருந்து டென்ஸ் மீடியத்துக்கு வந்தது. அப்ப angle of incidence is greater. பட் இப்போ என்ன பண்ணிருக்கோம்? Optically denser to optically rarer, and angle of incidence is less than angle of refraction. Okay. So the speed in the first medium is greater than the speed in the second medium. So there is no chance for the refraction. Only the internally reflection takes place. So இதுக்கப்புறம் நீ further என்னதான் angle of incidence increase பண்ணாலும் there is not at all possible for refraction to occur. Only the total internal reflection to occur. Okay, அதை நம்ம Snell's lawல யூஸ் பண்ணி நம்ம ப்ரூவ் பண்ணிருக்கோம். புரிஞ்சுதுங்களா? ஸோ இந்த Snell's lawல எப்பப்பெல்லாம் angle of incidence வந்து critical angle ஈக்குவலா இருக்கோ இல்ல அதை விட அதிகமாகுதோ அப்ப for a particular angle of incidence the critical angle is equal to 90 degree. அப்ப refraction என்ன நடக்குதுன்னா it goes in the surface of the separation. So இந்த மீடியத்திலே அப்படியே போயிடும். அப்போ refractions வந்து 90 degree. அதுக்கு மேல further நீ angle of incidence increase பண்ணாலும் என்ன நடக்காது நமக்கு? Refraction நடக்காது. In the same medium reflection only takes place. So அப்ப இந்த equation என்ன பண்ணலாம்? I become IC, then R become 90, sin 90 is 1. So அதை நீங்க மென்ஷன் பண்ணல. So அப்போ sin IC is equal to N2 by N1. So இதுதான் நமக்கு தெரியுமே. Relation between critical angle and refractive index. அதுதான் இது. Relation between critical angle and refractive index. அப்ப நமக்கு இங்க refraction நடக்காம என்ன நடந்திருக்குன்னா total internal reflection தான் நடந்திருக்கு. புரிஞ்சுதுங்களா? So அப்ப இந்த கண்டிஷன்ஸ்க்கு angle of incidence should be greater than angle of incidence should be less than the angle of refraction, because light is traveling from denser medium to rarer medium. Next, how reflection takes place. So we are going to prove the reflection phenomena using Huygens principle.